All right, what's up, good people? It's your boys, the Beards of War. We're back again with another review. You got myself, Thick Nick Fury, and you got Hey Cap Jack. Welcome, sir. Good to have you on front instead of behind this time. We're gonna give a shout out to our boys, FBR, Fat Broker, Rambo, Scorched Earth. Spending some much needed, valuable family time. So we're all about family first, family always here at Beards of War, and we're gonna do our best to carry on with this. And this for you, Rambo. We really tried to dig deep into this episode. All right, so here we are, Yellowjackets, season 3, episode 6, Thanksgiving Canada, I believe it's called. A lot went on in this episode. It's one of those episodes that has one of those really jarring kind of endings, right? So it's a slow burn. We'll start in 1996. All right, we're gonna go back, and start from the past timeline where we got Coach Scott. So our female femme fatales and Travis are trying to keep Coach Scott alive based on a vision that Aquila had based on going in the caves, and that Coach Scott is the bridge. Now, of course, Coach Scott is kind of like, I'm done. I don't want to go through this. I need you to end my life. So he's kind of pleading with Natalie, who's in charge up to this point, and unfortunately has the daunting task of having to kind of deal with him on a daily basis. Like she's coming in, she's the one bringing him the food. He's pleading with her. He went from everything from please kill me to yeah, I tried to kill you guys and you need to kill me, like try to get anger out of her any way he could do it. He's like, take me down to the river. He's like, give me a knife, like anything, just anything you can do to help me end this. And he is completely like giving up all hope. And she's struggling, right? So she's struggling with it because she gets it. She sees it every day, which is kind of like, why did they give her that task of having to feed him? Because yeah, normally, you give someone one-on-one time with a prisoner, that person's gonna start to break into that person's, moral code. So she's struggling with that, and we find out that he's not eating. He said, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna do the best thing I can to unalive myself. I'm gonna go on a little bit of a hunger strike, and that worked for about, I don't know, a few days before they figured something out, and Misty came up with the Jungle Boogie feeding tube, and I'm like, I don't know if
Oof.
that's how that works. They
Yeah.
did it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know about all that. I mean, it was interesting. Obviously, he was miserable, but from it, I love the line he said at the end, the service really sucks here.
Right. Right. I'm like, oh, okay. Like
Oh,
they just poured. I mean, they did what they felt they had to do, right? He could have just asphyxiated on that food or whatever. But they're doing whatever they can to kind of get him to the next step. Aquila sees this vision of like a three-eyed bear in the woods.
yeah,
Don't
that
know
was
what that
weird.
means yet, right?
Yeah.
So she's going into this cave and she's coming out with all these types of weird visions. Don't know what that's going to amount to or what that actually means. I'm pretty sure we'll find out at some point in the future. But Coach Scott eventually gets to Natalie to help him unalive himself, and that moment between the two of them where she shows up with the knife and he's like, oh my, like it's like he saw like the coming of the savior. He was like, oh yes, finally. And that was such like a real moment between the two of them. And that actor, Steven Kruger, who plays Coach Scott, phenomenal job. That dude he really gave you that impression of, dude, I'm done. I want to leave. Like, I don't care about anything anymore. Like, whatever you have to do, he pleaded with her. Anyway, she could get it done. And
Yeah.
then she finally does it. Travis kind of keeps watch. I don't know what that means. It's kind of like what, an additional witness because
Homeland
you did
Security.
nothing when like
Yeah.
you did nothing when like Misty shows up just standing like, what are you doing? So yeah, so Nat finally did it, and that angered a few people, especially Misty. She had a little necrophilia smooch with Coach, and yeah, so Misty's really upset, and then the girls are upset because they feel like he was the key to getting them home, and then that's when the power switch happens, right? So now Lottie has appointed Shauna the head of the tribe, and it's like she immediately just jumped right into, I'm taking over. This is what we're gonna do. Like she was waiting for this moment to happen,
Yeah.
and she makes Natalie in charge of carving up Coach Scott for the feast, right? So now they're literally eating Coach Scott for ritual. This is not for survival. They're not doing this because they have no other means. There's plenty of food around. They've been feeding him food that he's letting rot. There's fish, there's goats, there's bunnies. Not you want to eat the bunny first, I get it. But I'd eat any of those before I eat a human being.
Yep.
And this is where the big like reveal happens as they're going through this frenzy where Lottie's screaming to the wood gods, and then all of a sudden they see a figure, and these two people just walk up just casually upon their frenzied little cannibal feast, and it's just like hello, and they're looking at them in like disbelief, like, are we all seeing the same thing? Are we imagining this, or is this real? And then you see the guy look over and see Coach Scott's head on a pike, and he's like, "Oh,
What the
right." So I'm like, "Oh, okay, interesting. This is obviously not a rescue, right? Because they're not dressed like rescuers, right? They look like birders, right? I
Yep.
mean, they have I think the camera around the neck, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, so that's gonna be interesting to see where that goes. But that's the whole past timeline,
Yeah, just something to point out there too. Between episode 5 and episode 6, I've seen these two moments with Travis, and Travis is having some guilt over the fact that I don't think he buys into the Lottie visions at all. And so he was really suffering under pressure when he was the one who was, the voice or
right?
the scion, right? The person who was seeing having these visions. And he
Right.
was really suffering and he passed it on to Aquila and now
Hmm.
he's feeling guilt.
Right,
Like
because she's suffering now.
no, but she's like getting into it. And so I don't know. I'm really curious to see how they develop this because like he's clearly having guilt. He understands. I feel like he might have kept his sanity a little bit more than some of the others because like there's there's this whole moment where he's just like, but what if it's just bullshit? Like
Right.
what if it's not real at all? She's like, well, but you, and then he talks to Natalie and Natalie's like, well, you had the vision of Aquila and he doesn't, he's got too much guilt to respond honestly that, hey, I just wasn't man enough to stick up to Lottie and I was making it up all along anyways.
Right, right. Yeah, now that Akila's in the middle of it. And she's also feeling that, like I said, the pressure, like, wow, did you really see Coach Scott? Is that what the vision is? And she's kind of forcing herself into that cave to maybe find something else. Like, okay, I need something else to go on, something to keep the girls going. So she has that pressure of being the, like I said, the oracle, as it were.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so that's pretty much I think it for the past timeline.
Yeah.
Unless you got anything you wanna bring up or talk about, we'll go to the current timeline.
No, I mean just one thing of we continue to see Melissa uh you know supporting Shauna in the 1996 timeline. And some people, there are theories out there that Walter will either be Melissa's brother or maybe Walter will be the kid of the two people who we just saw. So, I don't know. Interesting point. These are all theories we don't know yet, but we're gonna see as we keep watching together. So,
Absolutely. All
yeah.
right.
So then present day we get in and Shauna's family, she's
The
Shauna's
targets.
talking to, yeah, she's talking to Jeff and she tells him about Lottie and there's three people that live in that home and Callie's the third and she overhears it and she's like, "What?" And then she's, "Oh, I messed up." And she pops up with a DAT tape. Old
Right.
school DAT tape, right?
Hmm.
And she's like, this was left for you as a message." So they freak out, they go into hiding, they pack a bag, we're leaving right away, blah blah blah. And I love that Jeff is just like, we know it's bad. Whatever it isn't good. At this
Right.
point, we don't have good packages left on our doorstep. It's only negative packages.
Right. Wasn't Amazon.
It was not the Amazon delivery man. No, absolutely not.
Right. And so now here's my question now. With when Shauna told Callie and Jeff that Lottie was dead, what was the catalyst for Callie to go and directly get that tape? Like there was no connection. It wasn't like the tape came from Lottie, unless it did. Like
I
we don't
don't
know who the. Well, I don't think it had a return address. That would be kind of silly. But I don't know why you would correlate that with Lottie's death. Like, oh, that's right, you got a tape. Like, well, what does that have to do with Lottie's death at this moment? He's like, you just found out about it. It's not like you had time to really think about how things work together or whatever. So I just thought that was kind of odd.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say it's probably just a writing
Yeah.
um weakness, right? Like they could have just gone a little bit deeper on that, more details, or maybe they were too subtle and underplayed it and we missed it. but I think that basically something bad happened, and here's this tape that looks like it was suspicious. Maybe they're related.
Right. Okay. That
Yeah,
works.
yeah.
That works. Yeah.
So so there we see Misty, and Misty seems to know every coroner, every,
From forensics.
scientific person, all the forensics people. She's over there and she shows up. We're in some laboratory, dude in a lab coat. She's like, "Hey, can you check this out for me?" "Oh yeah, what is it?" "Oh, it's just some substance from underneath my dead friend's fingernails."
Right. Uh,
"Okay."
if it were so easy. Oh, if we only all had those types of connections, right?
For
And
not having any friends, she's got a lot of connections.
right, and everyone seems to be in love with this girl. Like this is a girl who supposedly had no boyfriends or anything, when she was younger. Now they all love her, man. They all were bending over backwards for her. And I
Yep.
guess it's just, I mean, on the one guy, she had something on him, right? It was like, okay.
Correct.
Now this
Correct.
guy was kind of like he just wants to go out with her. So, she's using whatever she needs to get those answers. And she's getting them, man.
Yeah.
She is getting those answers. Um, Walter has the Lottie's garbage dropped off by a limo driver. I mean that was that was amazing. Like just look left, and the guy pulls up in a limo with Lottie's trash for Missy to go through, and of course she uncovers something because that's what Missy does, man. She's like the Nancy Drew of the femme fatales, and she goes to the bamboo Chinese restaurant or something like that. She scopes it out. Who does she see? She sees Lisa from the cult, and then she follows her and she gets to inquire with Lisa about what's going on and if she's a possible suspect, blah blah blah. And we found out that Lottie leaves Lisa $50,000, which Lisa asks no questions. And I get it. Like I don't even want to know where you get this money from. That's cool. Your secrets are my secrets when it comes to me getting 50K.
Right. Yep.
Mhm.
As long as it's not taxable. Yeah. Taxable donation.
There you
Now,
go.
the
Cash.
one thing I did think was they had left a little bit of a food trail for this, because at the end of the last episode, episode 5, Mr. Matthews, Lottie's dad, was talking to Shauna, and he was like, "Hey, do you wanna get your favorite Chinese place?" So something was happening there, right? Because with them,
Hmm.
we see in this episode that they go and she's obviously eating at this restaurant or whatever. So yeah,
Right. Yeah.
interesting.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, so we still have no clue what that 50K was for. Um, that coming up on money, right? One of the things that I saw was interesting. I was looking at some of the fan theories, and one of the fan theories is we never really saw any substantiation for why Walter has any wealth. Right? $6 million settlement that he got for having bricks dropped on his head. Yeah, you can see it. It's on YouTube. Um, but Misty we're never shown the video. We're never shown the proof. And
Right.
Misty is kind of a little bit focused on something else in that episode, because that's episode 2 or season 2, episode 5. And she never really sees the proof, and we don't see any proof. So one of the things that this is kind of going back to is maybe Walter has been extorting Mr. Matthews. So
Okay.
I don't
Okay.
know. Interesting fan theory.
All conspiracy theories are probable. They're all probable. That's the beauty about them. Like no one can tell you no because they haven't been discounted or proved. So
Yeah.
theorize away, in my
We
opinion.
we know something is weird with Walter. I mean, the license plate saying not Walter from the last episode, that was of interest. That's like really, it's either what do they call that? Not a MacGuffin.
Well, Murphy's Law.
No, no, no. When they send up something to trick you, to fool you. Maybe it is a MacGuffin.
Okay, yeah, that sounds right. Well, we'll go
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe they're just trying to confuse us, but maybe not, right? We'll see. We'll see what Walter's motives are. But
Right.
as we go through, we see Thais's behavior kind of getting weird, right?
Yeah, yeah. Thais is kind of disassociated herself a little bit, right? And Van finds it weird. She's like, everybody's going through all this stuff, and you're kind of just lollygag going about
eating
life like
steaks
nothing's
and getting
wrong.
spa treatments.
Right. And she comes with the thing, well, I just want things to feel normal, blah, blah, blah. I'm going through all these things with you, and I lost my career, lost my family, blah, blah, blah. And that could have just been evil tide playing on, that, hey, this is what's going on. This is why I'm acting the way I'm acting. But meanwhile, it's not really the tie that we think it is. So with the DAT tape, of course, Shauna reaches out the van, and she has the machine that plays this tape. And while she's looking for that recorder, she gets a phone call on this completely disconnected phone inside the box. Right? Picks the
Yeah.
phone up, distorted voice to say, "I can't," and help, and it sounds like Ty because she says, "Ty, is that you?" And then Ty shows up, of course, like, "Hey, which box cutter you need?" So we know it's not Ty specifically, but it could be. It sounds like a call for help
It,
from
it
Ty.
and it really reminds me of Stranger Things, the in between or the upside down. There you go, the upside down.
The
It
upside
really
down. Yep.
reminds me of the upside down from Stranger Things because we seem to have this plane of existence that exists outside of ours, right? And we
Mm,
know that we see Jackie talking to Shauna in the freezer in what was that episode 4, and
yeah.
we see just different people communicating from this other plane of existence. And so that's what it kind of looked like to me. It looked like Ty was, you know real real Ty Prime is trapped in the upside down, and she's trying to send out communications.
Right.
So
Exactly. Yep.
yeah, totally interesting.
And then they say like, who uses DAT tapes besides like super intense birders, and that epiphany goes off. Right. So now they show up at the hotel where Sean is holding up, and she comes out with her. I wear my sunglasses at night, and hops in the van. And so now they're playing the tape and they hear the familiar screams from that night where the girls are, doing the Coach Scott frenzied ritual. And then you hear Van say something really important. The only people who know what's on that tape are us or dead. So that would lead me to believe that those two individuals that rolled up are no longer with us. So it leaves something to, like, okay, so what are we really talking about? What really happened back in 1996 when those two individuals showed up? Because not a rescue, heard no helicopters, no planes in the area. So it leads me to believe, are they somewhere like a national park? Like, please don't M. Night Shyamalan me. But are they on Yellowstone National Park, just on the other side of the hill? There's a whole resort over there they didn't realize was there. Because birders is a casual, it's not like hikers, they're not like campers birders. Like you're not coming overnight equipment, you come with cameras. That's it. That's your whole thing, and maybe a bottle of water. So it's not like they trekked very far. It wasn't like, oh, we're deep in the woods looking for a specific hawk. No, they're just casual birders with a camera. So far, from what we understand. Um, so it's going to be interesting to see where that storyline goes, and I think we have a clip of that in the clip that we have for the next episode. Um,
Yeah.
and then yeah, go ahead.
Well, I did think that something was interesting. So when we first listened to the DAT tape, the first thing we hear is testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Oh my God, what is this? And the one thing of note for me there is that, and this might be ADR. This might have been ADR, right?
Hmm.
Because it's not. It's a show,
Right, right,
but I did notice it was like really quiet, right? And
right.
so like there's no background noise. We don't hear the screaming that was going on in the background because hmm, excuse me.
Bless
We
you.
know
Bless
that they were we know
you. It happens. That's Mother Nature.
we know that they were howling and doing all the dancing around and all that stuff. So I'm curious about that. Like when did she start to hit that record button, the female voice that we heard on that tape?
Right,
Because we do hear the howling right before um Shauna says the line about, or whoever it was that says the line about, the only people who have heard this are
right,
dead or us.
right.
So
Van, yeah.
yeah.
And it could have been a tape like the birder set up before going out on their expedition. And then as they're walking, they come across this, right? So it just recorded everything that just went on. So it'll be interesting to know who had the tape and then who ended up, mailing it to Shauna. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because the concept there, the thought is somebody's extorting them, right?
exactly, exactly.
that's what we think. So yeah, interesting. What did you think about the episode being called Thanksgiving?
Oh man, that can be taken so many different ways. Thanksgiving could be, how they look at the whole, like I said, the offering of Coach Scott. It's kind of like a feast, Thanksgiving, because we've essentially like some answers have to come from these two people showing up. Like it has to, like, how did you get here? It has to lead to some type of epiphany or a rescue or something. It has to lead to something. Like these people don't just show up and you're like, oh, well, how did you get here? Oh, well, we don't know. We came through a portal. No, no, you got here. Like you drove something. You got here some kind of way. So it should lead to something. So maybe that's like a Thanksgiving of, hey, during our feast, you have something to be thankful for because people showed up and now that's our way out. So that might be what that meant. And maybe they are in Canada. I mean, did we say where they crashed? We don't know, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. And
So
then the
I do.
last thing, go ahead.
Well, I'm looking at our comments here, and we've got Archie's in there telling us Mr. Matthews had the plane go down on purpose, and I'm glad you point that out because that was one of the things that we saw in episode 5 was, and let me look for the quote, but it's basically Archie down at the station. Artie down at the station knows his foundation won't see a dime if he says otherwise. So part of that to me was like, why does he want so badly for this to show up as just an accident? And then, as far as the show being called Canada or Thanksgiving Canada, we do know that Canadian Thanksgiving takes place in October. It's in the middle. It's about a month prior to the United States Thanksgiving. So that's a good thing
Okay.
to note there. Um,
Okay. All
but
right.
yeah,
Yeah. Fellow Canadians, please weigh in. Let us know something special about Canadian Thanksgiving that we might be missing here. Um,
and
another
catching.
yeah, another issue before we get away from that will be with Ty, who kind of hops up in bed next to Van, and she's like, "Oh, help me!" Right? She literally, it was almost like real Ty coming out and telling Van, "Help me," and then you could see in her face, the way it changed is like she went right back to evil Ty and goes back to sleep. Like, like what are you doing up? Like she didn't even realize that just happened. So it seems like there's a struggle right now going on with Ty, and she's trying to alert Van, like, "Hey, this is not me. This is I'm trapped. I'm trapped inside Evil Ty, which may have come out. Like, remember when they kind of brought Evil Ty out to try to assassinate Coach Scott, and maybe
Right.
she never went back. Maybe she may have been out that whole time, and it's just been building and building, and maybe there's flashes of the original Ty or whatever. So we don't really know exactly when Evil Time may have taken over for good. It's like Bruce Banner and Hulk, you know what I mean? So it's like I'm always angry, but
Well,
we don't know.
I mean, I do think we know it's important that in episode 5, Sammy has that moment where they go to a play date at the park, right? And
Right.
Sammy, Ty's son, um, he kind of sees her, and then he has this moment where he like freaks out and runs to Simone, and
Right.
so I think that in that moment, and Sammy, has previously told us the other lady, the scary lady, right? Like,
Hmm.
so Sammy has seen both sides. He's seen evil Ty and he's seen regular Ty, and they were asking about, is are you still going to be my mommy? And that's what I think he's starting to recognize. Hey, that's not my mommy. That's the bad lady.
Right. Exactly. But if how long has she been the bad lady?
But I
Right.
think
Like,
I think he saw both sides. So I think it's more recent. I don't think it's been always.
okay. Okay.
Because
That's a
he's
good point.
he's been able to see both sides of her. But yeah, another thing Fatberg and Rambo shouts out in the comments is you notice the envelope had Shauna Shipman on it. So that's her maiden name. So that's an
Okay.
interesting point. So if that might be somebody who had, they didn't know that she'd been married to Jeff.
Right. So the
I,
connection with her is from the past, not the present.
yeah,
Right.
1996.
Right.
Yeah.
So someone from her past, absolutely.
Interesting.
Could
Okay.
be one of the birders got away. I mean, we don't know, right? We're assuming
So
they they're dead.
that ties into the trailer for episode 7. Are we ready to show it? We want to go ahead?
Let's go, roll it.
All right, let's cue the trailer.
You all are, oh my God.
We can still get rescued without leaving any witnesses.
What are you planning to do to this woman?
I'm gonna sit her down and have a gentle, reasonable conversation with her.
We need to find these people so we can go home.
Yeah, something happened. Something. It was more than just a happy reunion with some strangers that might be able to help. So
Yeah,
something didn't go right. Like, how do you explain this? So there's a head on the pike. Yeah, we can explain. A little bit hungry, and then you see all these animals running around. So that kind of takes away. That's kind of like where we draw the line, right? Like, okay, is it really for hunger? Because I don't think so, right? So it's gonna be hard to kind of believe, and that may be what they're thinking. Like, wow, we can't even say that's what we had to do to survive because we don't have to eat Coach Scott to survive. Is just what we do now because we're federal
because it's
citizens now.
Friday. It's because it's Friday and we killed somebody, so we're gonna go ahead and eat him. There you go.
Right. Hey, we had a whole trial. You guys missed that. All right.
He was
You're only seeing
guilty.
the end result.
He was guilty. You missed it. We had due process. He had
Exactly.
representation.
No
No.
coaxing of the jury or nothing.
No. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I thought was interesting, before I saw the trailer, I was certain that there was going to be two dead tourists next week, or on Friday, right? I was certain episode 7 was going to have two dead people in it. And now I'm not so certain, especially because that line that we heard them say, and I think it was Van, it was either Van or Shauna in the trailer that said, we got to find those people so we can go home. And so I have a feeling that maybe they got one of them, or maybe they got both of them. I don't know. But clearly they strolled up onto that scene. Coach Scott's head's on the pike. They're not walking away without asking a lot of awkward questions. Definitely, for sure.
Right.
So really, really
none of
curious.
the answers are going to make sense.
None of the answers are going to be good.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
The truth or a lie, nothing is going to make sense. So it doesn't work. Like, it's one of those things where it doesn't matter what you say, bro. It's just bad.
Yeah. So,
man.
Yep.
All right, Rambo. Hopefully we did this show justice. I know you're watching this from up there, bro. I mean, he ain't dead, but you know what I'm saying. He's watching this out there on the internet. And man, we really try to deep dive into this great episode, man. It's one of those where you can't wait to see what happens next, and that's kind of what keeps us going. We do this with other shows, like we have we have The Last of Us, when House of the Dragon, when that comes back, like there's a lot of shows that we like to dig in. Fallout. So, if you guys, again, if you have any suggestions, any shows that you like, that you enjoy, you want us to kind of take a little dive into, let us know in the comments, man. Make sure you guys subscribe. Check us out. We got the vet link. You want to tell them about Vet Sync?
Yeah, check out Vet Sync. We've got a link in the description. You can join up if you're a veteran. We've got a nice little Discord community that you can join. We call it the Digital VFW. So it's for the GWAT generation. But yeah, it's a great place. And, we sometimes we do a live stream into the Discord so that you can be there and comment on it and you can get on the stage and check it out. So we'll be doing those weekly. Same as with this show, right? And it's super fun. It's really engaging. Also, we've got other shows that'll be going around soon. So just keep an eye out. We do Tuesdays and Wednesdays usually each week.
Sweet. All right, bro. Well, hey, man. I think that's gonna wrap it up for us, man. We want to thank Captain Jack for jumping in for us, man. And we'll be back next week. We'll be back in full force. So you guys, again, we enjoy doing this. We hope you guys enjoy it too. Till next time, Big Nick Fury out here.
All right, Captain Jack signing off. Have a good one, guys.